Have you ever had that strange feeling of being inside your own life, but as if it wasn't really yours? You do everything you're supposed to do: wake up, take a shower, work, smile for photos, fulfill obligations, pay bills, interact, and even laugh. But deep down, there is a part of you that doesn't move, a void that doesn't fill. It's an absence nobody understands, but you feel every day like a silent shadow following you. And it's precisely that shadow you try to ignore. Have you ever caught yourself asking, why do I feel like I'm wasting something I daren't even know what is? Most people don't notice these things because the world is always too loud, noisy, fast, urgent. But some people, and maybe you're one of them, feel it. Feel like there's something trying to communicate with them, but it doesn't use words. It's like something bigger is there. It's waiting for you to notice, but you don't notice because no one taught you to listen to the invisible. Do you remember the first time this happened? Maybe it was when you were a child, looking at the sky and wondering why the world was so mechanical. Or maybe it was during adolescence when you started to realize everything seemed rehearsed. People repeated roles, followed patterns, pretended to be okay, but something sounded fake. And in that moment you thought, this can't be all, this can't be living. But you said nothing. You kept it inside because no one would understand. So you learned to be silent. But the outside silence didn't silence what was inside. On the contrary, it made it grow. Over time, this whisper becomes part of your routine. It walks with you, goes to work, is in the car, in the shower, at bedtime. You try to drown it with series, social media, food, productivity, but it comes back. And the worst is it doesn't shout. It just waits. Because the truest call of life is never imposed. It's offered. It's a subtle reminder, not a demand. It's an invitation that can only be accepted when the soul is ready. And maybe yours is starting to be. If this message is speaking to you, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Join a community of people waking up to a deeper life. You're not alone in this journey. What does this whisper say? It's not a sentence, not an order. It's a presence. An almost imperceptible vibration, a kind of restlessness that reminds you every day that what you're reliving is not all you can live. And this feeling doesn't leave you at peace, because it wasn't meant to give you peace. It was made to wake you up. But awakening hurts, because you'll have to question everything you've learned to accept as normal. You'll have to look at your life and admit you built things that don't represent you. You accumulated relationships, choices, and routines that no longer fit you. That's uncomfortable. Because it requires courage. Courage to stop. Courage to be silent and listen. Courage not to follow the crowd. Courage not to live anymore on autopilot. Courage to say, I don't know what my path is yet, but I know this is not it. And just that recognition is revolutionary. Because the world wants you to remain asleep. Because awake people question, change, challenge, and that scares those still trapped in the system. But if you've made it this far, if you're still listening to these words, it's because somewhere you've already begun to awaken. But you don't know where this will lead, and that's okay. Because no call starts with a map. It starts with a whisper, and yours has just been heard. Awakening is beautiful in books. In practice, it's confusing. It's painful. Because no one tells you that before feeling enlightened, you'll feel lost. It's like waking from a dream and for a few seconds, not remembering who you are, where you are, what is real, you're still surrounded by the same things, the same people, living the same routine, but nothing feels the same. And the strangest thing, no one around you seems to notice. That's when what I call the syndrome of incomplete awakening is born. The feeling that something changed inside you, but the world hasn't followed that change. You are awake, but still trapped in a sleeping world. You start seeing patterns you didn't see before. You feel the falseness behind small talks. You realize much of what you were told about being someone in life was contaminated by fear, scarcity, and control. You try to explain, but no one understands. They try to push you back to normal, go back to studying, get a better job. Be more realistic. You're dreaming too much. It'll work out. Just be patient. But what you feel is not impatience. It's incompatibility. Like trying to fit into clothes that have shrunk, shoes that hurt, a life that no longer fits. You start having silent crises. It's looking at the ceiling at night, unable to sleep. It's not insomnia. It's the soul trying to understand why it woke up. If it is still trapped in an automatic body, you become more introspective. Not because you hate people, but because you can no longer pretend empty talks are satisfying. You feel life could be more, but you still don't know what this more is. And this uncertainty paralyzes you. Most people give up at this point, go back to sleep, go back to accept the system, go back to settle for less, even knowing they weren't born for that. But if you're hearing this now, if you still have this restlessness inside you, it's because you resisted. You endured the almost phase, almost understood, almost changed, almost went, almost listened. And now, you don't want almost anymore. You want truth. The truth is, you are between worlds. Between the old life that no longer makes sense, and the new that has yet to reveal itself. This transition is uncomfortable, because it has no structure, no script, no guarantees, but it's necessary. It's like when a caterpillar hasn't yet become a butterfly, but it's no longer just a caterpillar. It's in a cocoon, breaking down inside, undoing what was. It's not knowing what it will be, and maybe. You're in that cocoon now. Don't rush. Don't force an answer. Don't look for formulas. This syndrome of incomplete awakening is only overcome when you stop fighting it and start listening. Because this anguish has a purpose, to stop you from going back to sleep. And the more you try to silence it with distractions, the louder it calls you. It wants you to listen, without hurry, to the parts of you that have been silenced for a lifetime. It wants to slowly show you what you always knew but forgot. And this is where the true journey begins. When you accept being lost for a while, so you won't be lost forever. Most people think pain is the enemy. Discomfort, anguish, restlessness, all seen as something to avoid, treat, numb. But what if these sensations are actually signs of life? What if the discomfort you feel is the soul trying to communicate with you? When you don't hear the whisper, the soul turns up the volume, tries gently at first. A feeling of dissatisfaction, a doubt, a void. But if you ignore it, it insists. It insists harder. Sometimes with crises, sometimes with illness, sometimes with breakups, until you face an emotional abyss. And understand, you can't keep going the same way. This is the moment many think they're breaking, but actually they're thawing. You've spent your whole life being shaped by others' expectations, by school rules, by your family's fears, by your history's traumas. And what was born inside you was frozen for survival. But the soul never forgets, it waits. And when you start opening to something greater, when the silent call begins to vibrate inside, the soul sends a signal. Pain, not as punishment, but as a compass. Emotional pain is the soul's GPS. It appears when you stray from your path. It paralyzes you to look at what you were ignoring. It interrupts your routine because it knows if you don't stop now, you'll get lost forever. But the ego hates this process. The ego wants control, comfort, answers. The soul, on the other hand, wants truth, even if it hurts. And then the conflict arises, because you got used to thinking if something hurts, it's because it's wrong. But what if pain is exactly what's right? What if that discomfort is the start of a transformation? Look, no butterfly transforms in peace. No volcano awakens in silence. No soul is reborn without tearing a part of itself. Transformation is a process of friction. You will feel, you will doubt, you will cry. But all of this has a purpose. Pain is like a secret password. When you stop resisting and start listening, it reveals things. It reveals what you tolerated out of fear, where you betrayed yourself to please others, what you ignored in the name of safety. More than anything, it reveals who you never let be born. And that's why it hurts so much. It's not the end of who you are, it's the birth of who you always were. The soul isn't in a hurry, but it is strong. It will keep calling you, with love or pain, until you stop running and start asking, what inside me is wanting to emerge? Because sometimes what we call a crisis is just an old version of us, dying so something more true can live. Life isn't against you. It's just trying to wake you up, and the soul's alarm clock rarely sounds gentle. It's not easy to feel too much in a world that feels too little. You begin to awaken, to notice that everything has a deeper meaning. The words, the silences, the looks, the empty spaces between actions. But when you try to share, it's like speaking a language no one understands, and the feeling is clear. Loneliness. Not the loneliness of being alone, but the loneliness of being misunderstood. It's like the whole world is on stage, following a script, and you're the only one who realized the play is an act. But even so, you keep pretending, smiling where you don't want to smile, joining conversations you don't care about, accepting invitations that don't feed you, all because you feel fear. Fear of not belonging, fear of being left out, fear of being called complicated, intense, difficult. Awakening looks beautiful in motivational quotes, but in real life, it's lonely, because you start losing things. You begin to distance from people. You see relationships that were just distractions, and you realize many who were by your side were only there for the old version of you. The new version, the one being born, scares people. Scares because it won't submit. It doesn't accept emotional crumbs. It can't live shallow anymore. And then, silence grows. But this silence isn't empty. It's full of you. This is when you understand. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. Because to find people who resonate with you, you first need to stop pretending to resonate with others. And this is the hardest grief. Leaving behind the character you created to be accepted. Maybe you were the funny one, the responsible one, the understanding one, the one who always gave in. But now the soul is asking for something else. It's asking for truth. Even if the truth isolates you for a while. This is where many give up. Go back to hiding. Back to the comfort of the mask. Settle for the superficial, just not to be alone. But there is a price for denying your essence. You may have company, but you'll never feel connected. Because true connection demands real presence, and no one connects with a disguise. This phase of awakening seems cruel, but it's necessary. Loneliness is not punishment. It's space. Space for the old to leave. Space for the new to arrive. Space for your frequency to clear, to attract those who truly recognize you. And yes, they exist, but they won't appear while you're surrounded by noise. They come when you are aligned with who you really are. And until then, you'll need to learn to walk with a very special companion, yourself. The world tries to convince you that being alone is the worst fate. But here's a truth no one told you. The greatest spiritual revelations in history were born from silence and solitude. In the desert, on the mountain, in prison, in the cave, never in the crowd. You're not being forgotten. You're being reminded of who you are. And for that, all distractions must go. The loneliness of those who feel too much is not weakness. It's spiritual sensitivity. It's energetic maturity. It's a sign you're ready for a new level of consciousness. But even with all this awareness, there is still pain. You feel you were born for something greater, but have no idea what it is? That emptiness has a name. And maybe it's the beginning of your mission. Let's talk about that now. There is a kind of pain that doesn't show up on tests. It's not physical, but not purely emotional either. It's something deeper, older. It's the feeling of having come into the world for something that you can't name. You feel it when everything seems right, but something is still missing. You try to fill that void with goals, projects, achievements, people, but nothing lasts long, because that hole isn't just any hole. It's the space for the mission. But contrary to what many think, the mission doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive with a sign, a manual, a set date. It arrives as yearning, as restlessness, as that thought that insists on returning, as a talent you suppressed, as a pain that repeats, as a call that no one else hears, only you. But lacking external validation, you doubt. You doubt the value of what you feel. You doubt the path you sense. You doubt what pulses inside you, because you daren't see anyone around you walking this same direction. The truth is that great missions are born from the invisible. They don't appear first in the world. They appear inside you. Before being manifested, they must be gestated, and that gestation can take years, decades, lifetimes. The soul knows the exact time. The ego can't stand waiting. That's why many get lost at this point, seek immediate answers, try to force a purpose, throw themselves into 1,000 projects, courses, movements. But deep down, they know they're still far from their true mission. And that's when frustration grows. You start wondering, am I wasting my potential? Is all this calling I feel just an illusion? Why doesn't anyone tell me what I have to do? But this is exactly the key. The mission is not something told to you. It's something you discover by living. You don't find purpose before walking. You walk, and purpose finds you on the way. Some missions come as ideas, others come as pain. Sometimes the wound that marked you most is the seed of what you came to heal. In yourself and in others, you may have been abandoned, and now feel a call to nurture. You may have been silenced, and today feel an uncontrollable urge to give voice. You may have been emotionally destroyed, and now carry a burning desire to rebuild lives. Pain didn't break you by chance. It shaped you for something greater. So stop waiting for someone to tell you what your mission is. It doesn't come from outside. It's born inside. In the things you can't ignore. In the talents you hide. In the sensitivity you tried to silence. In what, even without explanation, makes your eyes shine. And don't worry if you still don't know exactly what to do. True mission doesn't start with certainty. It starts with a step. Even scared. Even doubtful. Even in the dark. Because those who wait to have all the answers before moving never leave the place. The universe doesn't trust its biggest messages to people who only follow formulas. It chooses those brave enough to walk in the invisible. If you feel this calling, even without knowing its name, it's because you've already been chosen. The mission just hasn't announced itself yet, because it's waiting for you to stop pretending you don't hear it. Sometimes the universe speaks. Tearing down what you thought was solid, a job ends. A relationship breaks. A plan that seemed sure collapses without warning, and everything seems to fall apart at once. At times like these, it's common to think life is against you. But what if in reality it's freeing you from distraction? What if everything that fell had to fall? What if the collapse is actually an invitation to silence? We live in a world where noise,